I'm King Link, and it's just after July 4th, which means it's time for the Humble Choice July 2023 review. First, thank you very much for all your well wishes last month. I am better, and now I'm here to tell you about the new bundle. I did an 8-hour stream on Independence Day, and now I'm ready to talk about what I think of each game, how they are, and which games are worth your time in checking out. There are a lot of games, so I'm just going to be jumping to the one already on screen.
Seems we've got a guest. Really now, Parvati, I do wish you'd spoken up. I do apologize. I was given no...
The Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition, not Obsidian's best. The Outer Worlds came out 4 years ago and then released an improved edition, which is this, earlier this year called the Spacer's Choice Edition, and that comes with all the DLC and improved graphics. We have what should be an Obsidian tier story with combat and speech crafting that fans of the Fallout or Elder Scrolls franchises should recognize and enjoy. That's at least the idea of this game. But the result is weaker. The Outer Worlds has a great first planet to explore and then feels like it copies and pastes that conflict to a bunch of other levels that really feel uninspired. The environments are weak, the writing just falls off of a cliff, and that's also while hammering a really weak message over and over for most of the game. The locations are tiny and there's nothing to really discover or explore in them. It's a little depressing because this was Obsidian's big chance and they stumble. Pick this up if you want an okay Bethesda type game. It doesn't have the size of other titles, and most of Obsidian's other titles are better written. This got a lot of credit when it came out because it wasn't as big a mess as Fallout 76 was at launch, which came out about the same time. But if we take away that comparison, Outer Worlds is average. Not bad, but not as good as people made it out to be. Temtem. Massively multiplayer Pokemon. Temtem doesn't really hide its influences. Your neighbor who is a professor has you choose from 3 Temtems, your rival then will challenge you with her Temtem, and you then go on a major journey collecting new Temtems in grass areas, capturing them by weakening them with your Temtems, and then using Tem cards, and so on. The thing is, everything Temtem does is almost exactly like Pokemon, which is a good thing. There are a lot of attempts to imitate this formula, but Temtem comes the closest and adds the ability to do a massively multiplayer game as well. But the thing is, maybe they shouldn't have. Online gameplay adds a lot of complexity to any game, and maybe I'm not far enough, but I already spent an hour here. I don't really see any reason for this to be online only. Well, okay, now I kind of do, because of course there's a battle pass and a cosmetic store. As much as I enjoyed this game, I still have to call that out because there's really no reason for that, and it's probably the only reason this game is forced to be online only at this point. It would have been nice to see an offline only character for players who don't care about the MMO aspects because there really are none that are important. Pick this up if you want a Pokemon game, but also to be able to play it online. There is supposed to be co-op available, and the MMO isn't horrible, I just really don't understand why the game needed it. I'd be lying though if I said I wasn't excited to play more of this. There's just something that works very well with the Pokemon formula, and that also works well with Temtem in that same exact way. Yakuza Remastered. 4 playable characters, same Yakuza formula. Yakuza 4 is a bit different from the Yakuza franchise. This time around you play as 4 different characters: Shun Akiyama, a unique loan shark, Taiga Sajima, a prison escapee, Masayoshi Tanamura, a police officer, and of course, Kiryu Kazuma. Because no, Yakuza isn't going to be that different. Yakuza 4 does play very similar to previous titles in the franchise, however with 4 protagonists, with 4 different fighting styles, 4 storylines, and 4 sets of side quests, there's of course a lot to do. And the game almost feels like it starts fresh when it changes to a new protagonist. The story eventually connects all 4 journeys easily and creates another compelling narrative. However, Yakuza 4 is really for fans of the series. It's hard to really start the franchise on this title. I should know, I actually tried it on PlayStation Plus a very long time ago and didn't get hooked back then. In addition, there's at least one major plot point in this game that's laughably bad to the point that it's brought up by the fan community almost all the time. Also, with 4 characters, there's good development on them, but none of them get a full game's worth of that development. Pick this up if you enjoy the Yakuza franchise. Similar to Yakuza Kiwami 2 and Yakuza 3, this is for people who have reached this point in the series. I still highly recommend newcomers start with Yakuza 0 or Yakuza Kiwami, and if you thought Yakuza 3 was a weaker title, don't worry, Yakuza 4 delivers on all fronts. Roadwarden, a choose-your-own adventure game. Roadwarden feels like a classic choose-your-own-adventure book where you're just making choices. However, there's actually quite a bit more to this. Your character has stats that can potentially affect which scenes you're going to see and how characters will act towards you. The world is vastly hostile as well, meaning players will have to keep their wits about them. At least that's of course the assumption. I haven't seen much of that yet. What I've played is pretty straightforward. It's also a really passive game as well, where the player is mostly just reading paragraph after paragraph and making choices. I don't know how impactful those choices really are yet. Also, the music can be quite repetitive, and I almost feel like I need a pen and paper to take notes. Even though the game does offer a journal for the main quest, it doesn't collect all the information you might need. Pick this up if you like slow, methodical stories and exploring a dangerous wilderness. There's something that reminded me a lot of Morrowind, where you really have to focus to what's being said. I enjoyed the reading here, but it was a pretty terrible streaming experience because it was just me reading page after page of information. After playing it, I respect the game, but I don't know if I'm going to be returning to this one due to how passive the experience was. Kraken Academy, Majora's Mask: The School Days. Kraken Academy takes the 3 days until Doom from Majora's Mask and puts that danger into a school where the player has to resolve issues with 4 clubs and free 4 different legendary spirits for a Kraken who lives at the Academy, thus the name. I know this really sounds strange, but Kraken Academy is well written enough that it's able to pull off jokes that would be bad in almost any other game. The experience is good and the situations are funny. Even the scene on screen had me laughing before having a great twist ending. Unfortunately, Kraken Academy is more of a visual novel than an adventure game. There's a lot of QTEs and puzzles you'll have to solve, but the focus of the game is the story rather than combat or adventure. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if players are looking for a deep and meaningful combat, well, of course that's not here. Pick this up if you want something a little more involved than a visual novel, but not much more involved. Humor is of course subjective, and Kraken Academy relies on that. If you don't find the scene on screen funny, maybe check out a let's play of the game, or just skip this title. But I enjoyed the writing here, and I'm pretty hard to please with humor. I'll be back to play more of it after I finish this video. Merchant of the Skies, an airship-based trading simulator. In Merchant of the Skies, players fly an airship to different ports to buy goods, trying to buy low and sell high to make a profit. Along the way, there are a ton of requests and missions that will help the player to make even more money and upgrade their ship, but ultimately this is a chill trading simulator. That's also the problem. It's a little easy and passive. There are a few systems that will challenge players, like finding and remembering to recharge your batteries at every stop, but the price for everything are low enough that players can just grind their way through this game, and I think the main quest was just to amass a ton of wealth so far. Pick this up if you like Excel spreadsheets and just min-max trading. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it will appeal to a certain type of player, and most people probably aren't going to be too excited for this title. Ozymandias: Broken Age Empires Simulator, an interesting Euro board game. Ozymandias calls itself a 4X game, but lacks the exploration part of 4X. This is more of a tile-based game. You'll earn resources, pay for upgrades, new spaces, and locations on the game board, eventually building armies and trying to vie for space between different civilizations. It's mostly about the expansion and building parts of a 4X genre, but feels more like a board game where the goal is to go for victory points than a 4X simulator does. The maps in Ozymandias are static, so there is no randomness. Different civilizations are placed in different locations, and there are difficulty options, which are appreciated. There isn't an offline multiplayer, which would have been useful. Ozymandias is lacking a strategic depth that's important for this style of game as well. Pick this up if you want a simple Euro board game, especially one you can play against other players online. It's a good concept, but just feels a little bit too shallow for me. But I think the comparisons to Civilization miss a lot of what Civilization actually offers and what Ozymandias lacks, which is a shame. Shotgun King: The Final Checkmate, Chess and Roguelites. I didn't realize I wanted this. You are the Black King, who has upset all his units until they join the White Army. Armed with a shotgun, you're off to stop that menace. It's a silly story, but it works and explains the game perfectly. You can move your king as a chess piece, blast away at enemies, and have to avoid checkmate. It's a concept so simple, I'm shocked it's taken this long to come out, but it's also just brilliant. The downside is this is chess and a roguelite. Not everyone is going to enjoy the turn-based nature or the rule set of chess, and roguelites are a mixed bag. Also, this game doesn't teach any of the rules of chess, so if you don't know how each piece moves, you're going to have to learn that elsewhere. That's not too hard, but this game expects players to already know those rules. Pick this up if you like chess and roguelites. I wasn't sure, but I had such a blast playing this game for 40 minutes and stopped after I beat the game for the first time because I was going to play a lot more. That's also unlocked a harder difficulty as well as an endless mode. It's a clever concept and well worth checking out. And let me go off script for a second and tell you I've actually played this at least 2 more times, beating it 1 time, getting a 3rd difficulty, and man, it's really freaking good. Anyways, that is this month's choice. 8 games, and some I'm rather impressed with, obviously. But that also means it's time to talk about the value of this bundle. As I pulled these numbers, it's the middle of the Steam sale, so I expected the numbers to be low, but I'm kind of shocked. This is a pretty high valuation, over $100 value. That's mostly because Outer Worlds and Temtem have never been on a truly mega sale. Even the original Outer Worlds is still going for 20 bucks right now, and that's without the DLC. On the other side, Yakuza 4, there is $5.43, not on Steam, but actually on Humble itself. The value in the choice though is there if you want either of those 2 headliners, definitely worth the $12. Now I don't have too much more to say about the bundle, so I'm just going to be jumping into the tier list. Now just as a reminder, the tier list is based on personal enjoyment or opinion, not focused on the specific value, but on which games I enjoyed the most or would recommend for the $12 that choice costs. The 4 tiers are the games that are worth the full bundle price, the strong contenders, average games, and misses. We can actually just skip the misses this month. I don't think any game truly deserves that bottom tier. That brings us to the bottom of the average tier, and that's going to be Ozymandias. I can see someone worked hard on this title and made an interesting board game, but after playing it for an hour, the quick gameplay is nice, but the experience lacks something deep enough to keep me playing. I'd probably run through this a few more times and then move on quickly. The middle of the average tier is Merchants of the Skies, which was an interesting enough trading simulator to hold my attention for the hour, but lacked a reason for me to start it up again. As a concept, it sounds fine, but it's a bit too simple to get that excited for. Speaking of games I don't feel like returning to, that's also true for Roadwarden. I get the choose your own adventure style, I used to love those books as a kid, and there are some nice improvements here, but there's also a lot of text, and having it take notes even though the game is also taking some notes feels like a strange situation, but I also kind of get it. Some people are going to love this game, I just can't really recommend it strongly. Here's how the tier list looks after 3 games, and that's okay. Let's start talking about the strong contenders. The bottom of the strong contenders is The Outer Worlds. I struggle with this game a lot. I know some people love it, but the writing feels so weak, especially coming from Obsidian of all companies. This should be better. Personally, I put it below Fallout 4, which I think says quite a bit. The middle of the strong contenders is Kraken Academy. I'm enjoying the writing here, and that's basically what the game has. Strong writing and an interesting concept, and that's kind of it. Still, I can recommend this based more on my time playing it as part of Game Pass than here, but this is clever enough for people to give it a shot. At the top of the strong contenders is Shotgun King. I'm a huge fan of this concept and will be playing this again. Hell, I already have. But it is also a roguelite, so at some point this will dip from interesting concept to absolute pain, and I think the only reason I won was because of some RNG luck. Here's what the tier list looks like after 3 tiers, leaving only the games worth the full bundle price. So let's get a look at what those are. The bottom of the full bundle price is Temtem. This is a great idea. Pokemon, but not Pokemon. The fact it's online only might be an issue for some players, but for the most part you can just jump online, see a world filled with other players, and play it solo. Not a bad idea and a well executed title. And that leads us to the strongest contender. It's Yakuza 4. Am I biased? Maybe, but it's also a game that I can say I put 50 hours into and I'm tempted to play it again to experience that story a second time. I have just such a good time with this franchise. And this is how the tier list looks after this month. So like I said at the beginning, thank you everyone for last month. Yes, it was an experiment. If you don't know, you should check it out. And I got a ton of feedback. Probably won't ever happen again, but you can't tell. If you're interested, that video performed slightly above average, but not extremely noticeably so. Good to know. I've been a bit lazy this month after recovering. I played God of War. Didn't work on a video I should have. I'll try to do better this month. It should be out soon. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. I don't need to say that. But if you're interested in more from me, wait, I can link 2 relevant videos. I have my Yakuza retrospective here and my video review on Outer Worlds as well. So if you want to hear more on why I didn't really enjoy that game as much as others, well, there's a 26-minute video there, and yeah, it's quite thorough. See you next time.